In today's video, I'll be going over my current desk setup in mid-2020 and going over all the things I use here on a day-to-day basis to get work done. This video is not only here to show what I use right now, but it will also serve as a video for myself and others to look back at as I start upgrading things later on. Alright, I'm going to first start this off with the desk that I use. I don't exactly know what kind of desk this is. It was just one that we had lying around our house, so a few years ago I moved it into my room and I've been using it for a few years since. And overall it's held up quite well, but it does tend to creak a little bit and there is a little bit of sagging in the middle. Overall though, it's held up just fine. On the left side of the desk, there's a little area where you can put things like books, papers, or a laptop or something whenever you're not using it. I actually don't really use that often, but it's there in case you want it. And there are also two little drawers that you can go and put stuff in, but I also don't have anything stored in it. On the right side of the desk, there's an area that I think is dedicated for books or other things like that. But for my next desk, I'm also looking for one that's a bit wider, as this one doesn't have the amount of depth and length that I would like. So I'm just kind of looking for one that's bigger overall. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the chair that I sit on. This is just one that I got from Costco a few years ago, and it has decent padding in it. It's kind of like a faux leather type of chair, but you do start to feel the bottom of it after 20 to 30 minutes, so it can get a little bit uncomfortable, but I mean it's worked fine. And this is also something I'll probably upgrade later on. Now we're gonna move on to my peripherals. We're going to start off with my keyboard. The keyboard I use is the Logitech K380, and it's a wireless Bluetooth keyboard. The thing I didn't know when I got it was that it was compact. Yeah, it's a little bit too small for my needs, but it works for now. Battery life is really great on this keyboard. I got it last year, and it has the same batteries that I had when I got it. I haven't even had to go and swap them out yet, and I type on this every day. And it has nice key travel, and I like the keys on it. So I think I'll be upgrading to a Logitech MX keys next, because that one's a full-size keyboard with the number pad. It still retains the nicer keys on there, which are a little bit bigger. That's pretty much what I'd want. Bigger keyboard, something with a little more room to type on. The mouse that I use is the Microsoft Arc Touch Bluetooth mouse. It actually has really good ergonomics for the most part. It keeps your hand kind of in an arch position when it's on, and the only thing that isn't the most ergonomic is where your thumb goes. It just kind of has to drag along on your desk or mouse pad, but I actually don't even use this on a mouse pad, and tracking still works really well on it. Unfortunately, the underside of it isn't really built out of the greatest material. It's this thin rubber that tears really easily. So make sure it's not near anything sharp, because it's just kind of torn off most of the bottom part of it. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But everything in it still works, so I've just continued to use it. And I'll probably continue using this until I get a new computer and upgrade my peripherals and other stuff later on. But otherwise, this is a pretty good mouse for what it is. On my next mouse, I would also like to have some sort of horizontal scrolling features on it, because all that this thing has is vertical scrolling. Having horizontal scrolling, however, would just make it a lot easier for things like video editing. It would just make things a lot quicker, and I wouldn't have to do as many clicks. For lighting in this whole setup, I use a Turcom wireless charging lamp. I just found it on Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive. It was under $20. It works well for what it is. I actually don't even know if I'm gonna ever upgrade this, because it's just a nice LED lamp. You can go and adjust things like the brightness of it and 3 different color modes. And other than that, that's really all I need out of a lamp. It just needs to light up my desk. It also has a bonus feature of wireless charging things, so I tend to put my Galaxy Buds on it, and I never end up plugging those things in. I just drop it on the pad, and then the next morning, before I leave the house, I just grab them and go. For my speakers, I use the Logitech MX Sound. These are really nice Bluetooth wireless speakers, and they do also have an aux cord if you want to go and plug it in manually. I mostly like these because they're not too large, but they also offer great sound, and I especially like having Bluetooth on there, so then I can also go and hook up my phone to it and listen to music that way. They don't have any subwoofers on them, but they do have those little air holes at the end where that kind of blows air against the wall, and it probably makes a little bit better bass on there. But otherwise, these sound great. I haven't had any issues with them. I don't need any more bass than I already give, and these are definitely something I'm going to port over to my next setup. The monitor I use is the LG WK600 something. I'm going to go leave it right up here. That's what it is. I don't know what it is exactly off the top of my head, but that's the model number if you want to go check it out. It is a 2560 by 1080p monitor. It's not the sharpest out there. For a 29-inch monitor, it's pretty decent. So I haven't had any issues with like the color on this or really anything. It's just a solid ultra-wide monitor, and I really enjoy having the horizontal space of an ultra-wide monitor. I have a voice recorder open, and I also have a script open with a few of my topics that I'm going over. When I'm editing videos or writing documents, just really anything, it's nice to just kind of be able to have the split screen, and it's kind of like having two 15-inch displays. It also doesn't hurt that it's at a pretty decent price of like $250. The main machine that powers up this whole setup is the Surface Pro 4. So I use it with a docking station that I plug in my speakers, some power, and a monitor into. And then I also have an extra few USB ports and an Ethernet port in case I ever want to go and use those later on. And it's really helpful, so then I just plug in one cable through the Surface Connect port, and then it hooks up everything. The model I have is from late 2015, and it is the one with 8 gigs of RAM, the Core i5, and 256 gigs on an SSD. It's held up pretty well over the past 5 years, but I have noticed that the battery life has suffered significantly. I recently put out like a battery report, and it showed only 34% capacity on it, so I'm hoping that when it eventually does like completely die out to like 0% capacity, I can still use it when it's just plugged in. I'm really hoping that this works for like another year or so before I get a new laptop. But this is also the same laptop that every single one of these videos has been edited on since the start of this whole channel. It's worked pretty well for almost everything so far. I edit using Premiere Pro, and I've been using the whole Adobe Creative Cloud suite for basically most of my stuff for the past few months, and that subscription runs out in November and I won't be renewing it. So basically I'll just be hoping that I can use DaVinci Resolve, and hopefully that ends up working out somewhat well and it isn't too slow on this machine. But we'll see in a few months, and I'll make videos about that if I can. Otherwise, it's been pretty reliable for the most part up until like this last year, but other than that, like it's a pretty solid machine for what it is. They do have their limitations if you're going to use it for more intensive workloads later on. Other than that, guys, this is pretty much it for my setup, and I'll be swapping out things over time and making it better. I'll also keep you guys updated on those new things as I get them and make videos about it. If you did enjoy this video or liked what you saw, please give this video a like and subscribe to more tech content coming out every week. I'll see you next time on Tech Device News.